principal. But then at that same time, I'd applied to pursue a master's degree, and therefore I was not able to take up the position of principal. I opted to proceed for postgraduate studies because I had seen that I'd already done 6 years after my graduation, and I felt that was time to upgrade my skills and probably open more opportunities for myself. So I proceeded for the master's, which was offered by the University of Sunderland of UK, the master's in computer-based information systems. But at the same time, I also had applied earlier to join the Ministry of Education as an education officer, and that was also successful. Now, this degree was being conducted jointly between the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology and the University of Sunderland. So I was still able to join the ministry as well as pursue the Master of Science in Computer-Based Information Systems. I successfully completed that MSc in Computer-Based Information Systems, and I performed really well. It was an eye-opener for me because it opened a new area that at that time was emerging. Computer information systems were emerging virtually across both government and even in the non-government space. So I felt that I actually needed to pursue it more, especially when I was at the university. They had seen my potential and said I could actually prepare myself to join the academia, which was my line because that's what I was trained in, and I found it quite interesting that I could get back to academia. The environment is conducive to more learning and also to grow professionally because I will work around people who are already in that space and they're doing very well. They will get mentorship and growth. So I resigned from the Ministry of Education and was ready now to move into academia. At the same time, the university, that is Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, was accrediting institutions to offer its academic programs. So there are quite a number across the country. And one such institution actually requested the university to see if they could get someone to help them start a department that will offer diploma programs of the university, give them the technical assistance to establish that department, grow it, and actually successfully offer those programs. My name was suggested. I attended interviews and I was accepted. And therefore, I started building a Department of Information Technology at Jeffrey Institute of Professional Studies. I started the program. We admitted students who are doing JKUAT Diploma in Information Technology. We recruited lecturers for the department, and we offered those programs in 2001, 2002, and 2003. At the end of 2003, I felt that I'd gotten the basics of coordinating university programs, and I felt that I needed to move to a higher space. And therefore, I approached the university to see whether I could actually join the university, that is JKUAT, as a lecturer there. And my application was accepted, and I joined the Department of Information Technology at JKUAT as a tutorial fellow to teach ICT programs, which I did from 2004 to the end of 2009. Now, during my 6-year tenure at the university, I was able to grow. I got responsibilities. I was put in charge of examinations in that department. I've very sensitive department, setting exams, ensuring quality assurance, and the integrity surrounding those exams and the processing of examination results to Senate, which I was able to do for 3 years. Now, towards the end of 2009, I saw advertisements for the newly formed Interim Independent Electoral Commission. They were looking for officers to serve in the regions, constituencies, as election officers. And I felt it would have been a great opportunity for myself to grow further and apply my knowledge beyond academia, which had been the thing that I'd done from the time I graduated. I felt I could try other spaces and apply my knowledge. My application was successful, and I was employed by the then Interim Independent Electoral Commission as a constituency elections coordinator and posted to Magarini constituency in Kilifi County. In that same year, the country conducted the referendum to the then proposed new constitution of Kenya, which was conducted that year. I served as a returning officer for Magarini constituency in that referendum, coordinated the elections. Basically, once we received the writs from the chairperson, we went ahead and conducted those elections, recruit, map the polling stations, register new voters at that time, because the register that had been maintained by the ECK had actually been cancelled by Parliament. So we needed to create new register. So we registered voters, prepared the register of voters, facilitated inspection and verification of that register of voters, and went ahead to recruit temporary election officials, and I conducted that referendum in 2010 in Magarini constituency. After that, we moved on. There were quite a number of by-elections that had arisen that were still pending because there had been no electoral commission. And so we started, and the commission took it upon itself to use by-elections as a training platform for the newly recruited election officials, because we had come from diverse backgrounds and very few had any much experience in managing elections. So from that early point, I had offered myself to learn and also take up challenges that the commission was bringing upon the staff. For example, I offered myself when we were doing the post-referendum evaluation process to basically as a volunteer to sit in those committees that were doing evaluation. And I knew in the process I would learn so much and I would also get experience. I offered myself to do electoral technology-related reforms and proposals that could be put on the table because that was my background in ICT. I taught that for almost 9 years. So I contributed immensely in that process. And luckily, I was offered a chance to coordinate elections that were being by-elections in the Ikolomani constituency. I was sent there as the team leader. I was the first constituency level officer to be made a team leader for a by-election. Previously, they will be led by directors and higher officers. So as a constituency coordinator going there, and among the team that I was leading were directors, managers, and colleague officers, was a real chance. My leadership skills were honed in that election, challenged, but still I was able to successfully lead the team to deliver that by-election in 2011. Now, the Commission then set up a task to prepare its first strategic plan for 2011-2017 in preparation for the upcoming, initially there were to be 2012 general elections that were later pushed to 2013. I was picked to be in that team that will prepare the first strategic plan for the IEBC I contributed immensely, especially in the development of the first concept of conducting 6 elections in one day, because previously we used to have 3 elections, those of president, member of National Assembly, and then councillor. This was the first time that the commission will be conducting 6 elections, so I was given the task of drawing how 6 elections can be conducted, how a polling station could be set up, how ballot papers could be issued, the casting of those ballots, and maintaining a smooth flow of voters in a polling station. I'd never done that before, but I took up that opportunity in my stride, and I developed that model that was then discussed by management, and later the commission approved a system that will have allowed 6 elections to be conducted in one day. Then that was for the general elections for 2012 that were later pushed to 2013. I still remained in Magarini constituency for those general elections. I was the returning officer for that constituency. We conducted the first 6 elections in one day. In that general election, successfully delivered that election. In 2014...
Now move on to where you are now, so that we...
Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, thank you. Now in 2014, I was actually promoted in acting capacity to be the regional elections coordinator in charge of North Coast. That time, North Coast region was covering Kilifi, Tana River, and Lamu constituencies. I started acting in 2014 up to 2015. Then I was transferred to South Coast region in charge of Kwale, Tana River, and Taita Taveta counties in the same capacity. But later in that same year, I was competitively recruited to that position of regional elections coordinator in charge of South Coast region. I served in 2016 and 2017. When the new commission came, they devolved the functions of the commission from regions to counties. So they created the office of the county elections manager, and therefore I was redesignated from regional elections coordinator to county elections manager and posted to Kitui County, where I conducted the general elections of 2017 as the county elections manager, but I also served as the county returning officer for Kitui County, in charge of the elections of governor, senator, and the county woman member to the National Assembly, but also supervising the returning officer in the other 8 constituencies in the county. I served that for the 2017 general election. As you may recall, Chair and members, the presidential elections of 2017 were nullified by the Supreme Court, and a fresh presidential election was ordered by the Supreme Court. The Commission actually appointed a technical team to coordinate the conduct of that fresh presidential election. I was honored to be recruited among the team that coordinated that fresh presidential election, and I was put in charge of electoral technology, ensure that we streamline the electoral technology systems, including hardware, a secure network, results transmission system, voter identification, and all that. I was able to coordinate that. And in that team, we actually proposed a number of recommendations which were adopted and approved by the Commission, like involving representatives or experts from political parties to have controlled access to the servers where the results were being transmitted into, because previously they'll say it is not clear what's happening behind the servers. So representatives of political parties whose names were forwarded to the Commission were allowed controlled access to those servers. We developed an elaborate system for the tallying and display of those presidential election results in that fresh presidential election, and also development of electronic development of Form 34C that is used to declare the presidential election results. It was a smooth process. Of course, it was marred by a lot of violence in a number of counties, but when we coordinated that process at the National Tallying Center, everything was smooth. The election results were still challenged.
I'd like to stop you there.
Held. Thank you.
I'd like to stop you there.
Thank you.
And ask Linda to come and ask.
Thank you, Chair.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Albert Nguma Gogo,
Yes,
from the credentials that are before us, you have worked with the IEBC Commission in various capacities under different commissioners and chairpersons in the different tenors.
Yes.
You know the inroads of the IEBC Commission.
Yes.
Now, this selection panel would like to know what different skills and competencies are you bringing to the table that will help you and the other commissioners in the execution of your mandate if you are selected to be a member, one of the members of the commission.
Thank you, Chair, and Madam Linda. One, I bring to the table 15 years of experience in electoral management. As you have rightly put it, I have served in various capacities. One at the field at constituency level as a constituency returning officer. So I'm able to understand what happens at polling stations, the challenges that presiding officers are likely to experience, and what solutions they need, what kind of support they need to enable them execute elections. Remember, elections start and end at the polling station. And therefore, when I come on board as a commissioner, I'll be able to develop policies and provide a feedback mechanism that will help us to be on top of what is happening at the polling station. Focus normally is taken to the National Tallying Center, but the elections happen and end at the polling station. Courts have declared themselves, like in the minor KI case, that the results declared at the polling station are final. And therefore, I'll be able to put policies in place that ensure that that process is foolproof and that we are sure that every vote matters. Any person who shows up to vote at a polling station, their vote will matter. The other thing that I bring on the table, Madam Linda, is my strong background in information and communication technologies. The Commission implements election technologies to support its core processes in elections management. I didn't get a chance to explain that I was part of the teams that developed the specifications for the biometric voter registration systems that we are currently using, and also when we are migrating to using the Kenya Integrated Electoral Management System, KIMS. I was also there in developing specifications of that shift from the BVR computers to the KIMS tablet for registration, identification of voters, and transmission of results. So I'm bringing to the table that knowledge from the design of those systems to how they're implemented. I'm a master trainer in the IEBC on how to train all the election officials, including training on the use of those ICTs. So I'll be able to develop policies that will enable that technology is implemented and achieves the purpose for which it is designed to support the electoral process. And then generally my 15 years in electoral management experience across the board in voter education, electoral operations. I've been a county elections manager now for 11 years. How to deal with election officials in the field will be very useful to this commission. I wish to mention to this panel that a commissioner at IEBC is very different from a standard board member, maybe of a state corporation. You will make policies, you will do oversight, and you will develop strategy for the commission. But when it comes to the election time, you will be in the trenches with your foot soldiers to motivate them. And I've been in those trenches, and I'll be able to support them. I was county elections manager for Nairobi County in 2022 election with over 30,000 staff I was able to motivate them despite all those challenges, and we were able to deliver those elections, 106 elections to be exact. So I'm able to, even from a distance, to support a strong team to make sure they deliver. So I'll be able to develop policies to make sure that every person in the commission is able to support our foot soldiers who basically deliver the election, not for the commission but also for the country.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. You've answered my question, and I wish you all the best. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I turn you over to Madam Carol to briefly ask you some questions.
Thank you, Chairman, and welcome once more, Mr. Nguma. You have taken us through your involvement and expertise on the issues of technology, and you have helped particularly the Commission deliver a free, fair and credible elections using the technology.
Yes.
From where you sit and being an insider and having been, participated in the development of this technology, what still do you think is the problem or the challenges that IEBC still experiences in using technology? And how do you, if you become successful to be a member of the IEBC, would you help the Commission to navigate those challenges?
Thank you, Chair and Madam Caroline. The technologies that the Commission deploys for elections have served the Commission and the country well, both at, and we look across the electoral cycle, both at the registration of voters, preparation of the register of voters, and then allowing those registered voters to inspect and verify their biometrics on that system, to their identification on election day, and finally, for the most important part, the transmission of those results. Though they have worked very well, there are a number of areas which we see as weaknesses where we feel, and if I come in as a commissioner, I would want to recommend that we consider those proposals to make that system work well. Because one, it is one thing for a system to work well, but another for the users of that system to actually believe that it is working well for them and to trust it. So I will want to put policies on the ground that will bring believability and trust in that system. For example, when the system that we have been using, the BVR system, a voter will be registered on the BVR kit at a registration station, and then their details will be physically transferred from that computer that was used for registration to a system where now they will be uploaded to the election database for processing of those results. The good thing is that system has now been improved. Instead of using the BVR kit, now we are going ahead to move to use the KIMS tablet. That KIMS tablet has a number of improvements. One, it is very small. It's your standard tablet like this box here, or that size. It can sustain power for long. It can take the fingerprints. It can take the image of that voter. And the good thing is, once it is connected to the network, it automatically uploads that data. So the issue of the physical transmission has now been eliminated. However, when a voter is registered, we give them an acknowledgement slip. But that is all they have, a token that says, I'm from a registration center. Now, because that system is online, my recommendation would be a voter, once registered by that system and their data is uploaded, they get a message that your application has been received by IEBC and it is being processed. I'll also be proposing that we develop timelines within which that application will be confirmed as a registration, because the application is one phase and then registration is another. And once your data is uploaded in the server, it's supposed to go a number of processes. For example, one of the checks we do is to make sure that this voter is not already registered. So we conduct what we call deduplication You check your ID, you check the fingerprints and even the image against the data that is already in the database of the register of voters. If this person has not been previously registered, then they are added to the register. It is a heavy process which you cannot be doing on a day-to-day basis. But we shall develop timelines within which we know we are able to do those processes. And once it is done, again, that voter, if they give us a telephone number, they get a message that you are now in the register of IEBC, you can verify using this. Because we have a portal, it's called verify.iebc.or.ke. So they can actually go to that portal and verify that indeed they're in that system, which polling station they are registered at, so that there's believability in that system. Yeah.
So as you speak of believability, you remember in the Supreme Court case on 2022,
yes,
the presidential petition, there was this allegation of, you remember, the Pramba not leaving the bathroom, Jose Camargo, and the hacking of the system.
Yes.
Having been at IBC and now given a chance, how would you ensure that Kenyans have confidence in that system? That's what we are asking. Now that you're picking up issues of believability and trust in technology.
Yes.
So what are those measures, step by step, or you propose that can be used to make sure that the plumber leaves the bathroom, is not there during the transmission of results?
Thank you. I will want to use a method that we use in facilitation, because I'm a trainer and a facilitator. In facilitation, we say, before you start your session, tell your audience what you want to tell them. Then tell them, and after you've told them, tell them what you've just told them. Now, we shall develop policies and guidelines that will enable every voter to know exactly what is going to happen, what is expected of them, what that system will do once they have been identified. What will happen when we say a presiding officer has taken an image of that form and has transmitted that, what exactly happens to their form? At what point can they actually verify that form? And I will encourage our voters to, because we post that form at the entrance of our polling station once counting and signing of the form has been done, I encourage every voter to take that picture of that image of the form and check that it is the same form that is on that portal. And then the other processes now are a little bit more technical. They can better be done by agents of candidates and political parties, because now they happen at the polling tallying centers. But the voter must know what their result form looked like. And they're able to verify for themselves that that same form whose image they took at the polling station is the same one that is at the results portal. Because there was that talk that that form was intercepted, changed, and then put on the portal. But if you look at the turnaround time between the submission of that form and its appearance at that server, the likelihood of manipulation is very slim. But you see, people must know exactly what happens, even in terms of timelines, so that they believe that that form has not been changed. And if it is changed, they'll be able to compare it with the image that they have on their phone.
Okay, thank you very much, and I wish you the best.
Thank you,
Chair.
Thank you. I want to turn you to Ambassador Kokimuli to ask you some questions.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Nguma,
yes,
karibu.
Asante sana.
I would like to shift this conversation a little bit.
Yes.
Since you joined actually you joined ECK.
IEBC.
Sorry.
The interim.
Yes, the interim.
Yes.
So you came in just after the disbandment of ECK.
Correct.
And the establishment of IEBC.
Correct.
And you've been there for 15 years.
Yes.
So you will forgive me for asking some of the questions I will ask. And I know you have extensive practical experience.
Yes.
On the electoral cycle. I've heard you quote the method we use in bridge training, using bridge curriculum, what you have just quoted to my colleague. And therefore, I would like to ask you the first question, just specifically. You have told the panel, in response to the questions from my colleague, that you will develop policies.
Yes.
You will develop this, you will do this, you will do this. Now, I am wondering, for 15 years, you have worked for IEBC and IEBC and witnessed transformative elections since the promulgation of the Constitution of 2010. What has stopped you from recommending the same policies and from addressing the challenges that you want to address when you become a commissioner?
Thank you, Madam. The term that I use, develop, does not necessarily mean that there are no existing policies. There are policies which we have used, like we have an ICT policy that has guided the acquisition, management, use, and even retirement of technologies over time, put in policies for security, data management. So those policies are there. But by saying that I will develop, chances are there will be gaps in the existing policies that we will endeavor to address. And also there might be need for nuance.
You either know, you have been there for 15 years, so you must know specific areas that require to be addressed.
Correct.
And that's what I'm inviting you to tell us from your own extensive experience. This is what I have identified as a returning officer, as a county, as a CEC, and so on. And what I would like to do, because when you go there, to actually address that. 3 challenges that you have experienced personally in your capacities, and 3 strategies on which you will employ when you get there. Just list, don't describe.
Thank you. I'll begin with the process of registration of voters. I was explaining to Madam Caroline the challenges that we have, which was manual processes of registration and transmission of the data before it is uploaded. Now, good thing is we have now the KIMS tablet. We'll be pushing to have that implemented, fast-tracked and implemented. Yes, 1. Number 2 is the process of management of the presidential election results. We have constituencies and counties that don't raise much temperatures in the country, but the presidential election results always has more temperatures. So that is another area that I will want to fast track on. First, there are proposals that have been made for amendment of the process of verification and tallying of presidential election results that is currently before the National Assembly committees, that is JLAC. If I come in as a commissioner, that is an area that I want to see fast-tracked so that those proposals come into being. Now, what do these proposals bring on the table? They bring more transparency in the process of tallying, verification, and the declaration of the presidential election results. As observed by the Supreme Court, the law was talking about chairperson all through, and it appeared that the other commissioners had no role. So the proposed amendments prescribe good roles and responsibilities to all the members of the commission, and therefore they will play, if I come in, we will play a role in that process so that it is a collective responsibility, make it more transparent, and especially on the part of preparing Form 34C, which is the election, presidential election declaration result form. Make it progressive in terms of its progress. Like one constituency returning officer comes at a time, once they come and we verified their results immediately are added to Form 34C, and we do that until the 290th returning officer has come in, and that form is there. It prepares all the summaries that are needed to enable the chairman to declare results. That is an area that I want to bring on board.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nguma, and all the best. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. FCPA, Tanwi, please.
Thank you, Chair. Bwanakogo.
Yes, sir.
Now that you are an insider, I think you are the first insider we are interviewing in this process. What informs the assignment of duties and responsibilities at IEBC currently? What is the criteria for assigning duties, transferring officers? What informs that?
Across board or for a particular cadre of staff?
Across board. Like in your case, actually, let me use your case. In 2020, you are appointed as manager electoral operations.
Yes.
And then come 2022, again, you are moved to, before then, I think you are a county election manager.
Correct.
Then you are moved to become manager electoral operations.
Yes.
Then immediately you also move to become a county election manager again.
Yes.
So what informs this movement at IEBC?
Number one, the Commission has a policy that an officer, especially one who serves as a returning officer, cannot serve in an electoral area for more than one general election. So after every general election, before the next one, every officer who serves as a returning officer will be moved to another station. Also, in terms of now for horizontal movement of officers, for example, like the case you've cited, once you are a manager, you are in that rank, you can serve either at the headquarters or at the field, depending on your skills and abilities that you can bring on the table and solve problems. So I was a county elections manager, that time serving in Kitui County, and then I was redesignated manager electoral operations at a time when the Commission had a very high number of by-elections that were happening across the country. Case in point, we had the election of Governor Nairobi County after the impeachment of the then governor, and there was no deputy. So there was an election to be conducted for governor of Nairobi County. We also had by-elections for Senate elections for Garissa and the Machakos counties. We had the by-elections for Member of National Assembly, Kabuchai and Matungu, and I think 5 others for county assembly elections. So it was felt that they needed an officer who is well-grounded in terms of electoral operations and field support. And in its wisdom, the Commission actually appointed me to come in to serve as manager electoral operations. After we delivered those elections, I was redeployed back to the counties in the wisdom of the Commission, which I was not privy to.
Was that movement really optimizing your skills, experience, taking note that one of the duties and responsibilities of manager electoral operations was to, and this is where I'm interested in, you are to advise on election materials.
Yes.
To ensure that there is efficiency and effectiveness, and more so cost effectiveness. So I'm interested, why is our elections, since this is one of your duties, one of the duties that you had to advise on management of election materials, why are our electoral materials expensive, and why is our elections one of the most expensive from a practical point of view, being an insider?
Thank you. You are right about the issue of advising on election materials. In fact, during my short tenure, we reviewed the specifications of election materials which were actually used in the procurement of materials for the 2022 general elections. Now, on the part of expensive elections, it needs to be looked at in context, exactly where we are talking about, because our elections are driven by well-defined cost drivers, some of which are actually prescribed in law, and the Commission has no choice as to whether to implement them or not. For example, use of technology is prescribed in law, and the way it is defined in law, a secure system the word secure, once you interpret it properly in terms of a specification of an electoral system, already brings on board very expensive mechanism to support that secure network. Because we are talking about mobile network operators who provide the backbone. You are talking about firewalls that will ensure that data is encrypted end to end. You are talking about a high-level process of managing even the users who will access the system, both the administrators and the end users.
But are these kind of infrastructure that you'll be putting in at every election? Because if you're to buy servers, you're talking of those equipment that are to be used. And, aren't those one-off acquisition or procurement? So that not every other, yes, we can agree at the point of installing them, acquiring them, then there is that high cost. But subsequently, we would expect the cost to reduce because now you'll simply be improving on those controls.
Oh, thank you. In fact, a number of our election materials are reusable. We use them from one election to another, unless we have breakages or losses. For example, ballot boxes are reused in multiple elections. We also have many other materials, like we bought rechargeable lanterns in the run-up to the 2022 general elections. Those lanterns have been used in by-elections and will still be used for general elections. Chances are we might add more if the number of polling stations increases, but for those that we have, we are not buying others to replace them. KIMS tablets. We need a minimum of one KIMS tablet for each polling station. So if the number of polling station goes up, which we have forecast that it will actually go up, unless the recommendations that we've given in the legal reforms to allow the number of voters per polling station be allowed to be expanded. So in urban areas, it's likely to bring down the number of polling stations, and therefore probably the number of equipment that we might need to buy will go down. And a reduction in number of polling stations will have a significant reduction in the overall cost of elections.
So how different will you do or procure or handle if you assume the role of Commissioner, having been a staff member?
Thank you, Chair, and FCPA Tanui.
In regard to materials, election materials.
Thank you. The procurement process is well guided in the laws, like the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. What we'll do if I come in as a commissioner is to ensure that both the Public Finance Management Act and the PPADA are actually implemented fully. For one, before the beginning of every financial year, the accounting officer of the commission is supposed to prepare estimates for that year. And with those estimates, there are materials that are procurable, both either locally or even internationally. We'll want to see a procurement plan that covers for all those materials, goods and services that are procurable. In that plan, we will want to see that the proposed methods of procurement actually meet the requirements of the Constitution, fairness, to make sure accountability, and value for money. We'll want to see that in our procurement plan. And eventually, when that plan is implemented in the actual procurement, we'll want to see that those plans were followed. And if there are any issues that speak anything that was against the provisions of the law and the internal policies, then we will deal with them. We will not wait until too late. The other issue that I will want to bring on board,
in summary,
yes, those materials that we can buy and keep and they don't go bad, we buy them early and keep them. So that issue of us asking for 20 billion because we want to buy virtually everything at one time will not arise. We'll be looking for 1 billion to buy some materials. So it will not raise those antennas that are normally raised when a big amount of money is put on the table for procurement of a large quantity of materials.
Thank you and wish you well.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I now come to Msasa. Karibu, Msasa.
Thanks so much, Bwana Albert. I was just wondering whether, given the fact that you have been working in IEBC, whether it's fair trying to understand the understanding of candidates about the electoral process, whether it's fair to ask you the same questions we have been asking the other candidates, given now that you almost know all the same. Nevertheless, I want you to tell us, when you have talked about the KIM tablet, at what stage are they now of implementation?
Thank you. At the moment, we have KIM's tablets that we have an information technology center where all our technologies.
Have you already procured the KIM's tablet for the IEBC?
Yeah, we have KIM's tablets that were procured for the 2017 general election, and some were procured, 14,000 of them, to complement the ones that we had for purposes of having adequate equipment for the 2022 general election. Now, those tablets are currently maintained at our Information Technology Center, a purpose-made center that was developed for purposes of maintaining electoral technology, because previously we had a challenge of these kits stored in counties which had very little capacity in charging, maintaining them, and make sure that they don't devalue. So those kits are being maintained regularly, and they are usable. Though a good chunk of them, the ones purchased in 2017, the Commission has recommended that they be replaced because they have basically coming to their end of life. By 2027, they'll be 10 years old. They do not have capabilities that we look forward to having, for example, capturing the iris, having seen challenges with a fingerprint identification. We want to add an extra biometric of the iris scan, which those tablets bought in 2017 cannot currently support. So they are usable, but going forward, not all of them may actually be appropriate for the next coming general election.
Thanks so much. I heard you mention about when you are doing registration, you are proposing some things of the message, getting a message to your phone. Are you aware that there are some people in this country who are citizens and who are supposed to be voters who do not have access to phones? So how do you reconcile that?
Thank you. The use of the phone, and I was very clear, it said for those who will have supplied a phone number will be able to get that message. However, even when I was a registration officer and we are registering voters way back in 2011, I will encourage the voter to give a telephone number of a person who can relay to them a message if need be, because it will help. But if someone does not have a number, we have alternative methods of still being able to verify your voter registration status.
The other question, just a follow-up question. You have been in IEBC and you have mentioned about voter registration. Could you enlighten the Kenyans who are watching, given that our constitution says that voter registration should be continuous, from the insider perspective, why are we not doing voter registration?
Thank you, Chair. There are a number of factors that are hindering the current registration of voters, and those are some of the proposals that I'll be putting on the table to reform. For example, when an officer is designated as a registration officer, they are gazetted by the Commission to serve as a registration officer in the station where they are at the moment. So they are gazetted, they serve as registration officer for that area. If they move from that area, they're supposed to be gazetted as the registration officer in the new station. Now, the person who gazettes is the chairperson of the commission. So although the notice of election of the 2022 general election had actually indicated the date by which registration of voters, that is continuous registration of voters, should have resumed, there was nobody to gazette those registration officers at that time because the previous commission had completed their terms, and nobody will gazette that. The other challenge, which is something that will also bring on the table, is a maintenance of.
Does the gazettement have a shelf life?
Yes, you are gazetted for a specific registration area. Like if I'm in Magarini constituency, I'll be gazetted as registration officer Magarini constituency. So if I move to Kilifi North, I'm supposed to be gazetted as registration officer Kilifi North. It was meant to protect arbitrary appearance of persons to be registration officers, and nobody will take ownership of the activities that they did. But now you see there's a downside if we find ourselves in a situation like the current one we are in. I want to draw parallels, for example, with the military policemen. Once they take the oath of, I don't know whether it's allegiance or office, on their passing out day, they are gazetted as soldiers or policemen, and they don't need to be gazetted as a policeman in Kamukunji constituency and the others. So I will be proposing that once a person has been appointed in a position that gives them a chance to be a registration officer and they are gazetted, that gazettement stands for life, and administratively we will acknowledge the station at which they are at the moment. Instead of legislating that, it can be an administrative process, so that it will be easy to implement.
Thanks so much. Now, that means as IEBC staff currently you are not doing anything. So what do you do from a day-to-day basis for you to earn a salary currently?
Chair, it's not that we are not doing anything.
I'm not saying you are not doing anything. Please enlighten us. What is it that you are doing, given that now you are not doing that voter registration? And, of course, you have clarified that those who were gazetted at that time, have they all of them moved to other stations, or the gazettement expired? So what exactly do you do on a day-to-day basis as a coordinator of Nairobi?
Thank you, Chair. For the record, those officers were last gazetted as registration officer in the period prior to the general election, because immediately after that, registration was closed, and therefore that was it. They are yet to be gazetted. Now, what we do in between elections? Our elections run around what is called the electoral cycle. Now, the electoral cycle has major phases. We have the pre-election phase, the election phase, and the post-election phase. Now, each of those phases has well-defined activities. When we conduct voter registration, it is one of the pre-election activities. It goes hand in hand with the continuous voter education, which we are currently doing, though with the serious underfunding in that particular area. So we are basically limited to the areas that we can physically access, areas around your office, your station, and nearby places. So we do continuous voter education. We also, like immediately after the election, we did post-election evaluation process, which is done by every cadre of officer. We also handle post-election petition cases, if any.
That's enough.
Thank you.
So basically, Secretariat implements policy of the commission. So you are currently implementing the policy that was done by the previous commissioners?
Yes, though we have actually gone ahead and done preliminary work that the incoming board or the commission will come and find in their entry for their consideration and approval. For example, I'll highlight the boundary delimitation process. Before its time lapsed, the Secretariat had updated the boundary review operation plan that we had prepared before the elections, so that if we had a new board in January 2023, they'll have found an updated boundary review operation plan for their approval and implementation. We currently are developing a draft strategic plan for the incoming commissioners. So when they come in, they will not start from scratch. They will have a draft strategic plan. And we are doing so many other materials. We are already preparing plans for upcoming by-elections. So when the board comes, they will find plans for them to approve, because they'll be expected to do those by-elections in a matter of weeks after they are sworn in. So we are preparing for them. When they come in, they will not find an empty tray. We are busy preparing for them, and also preparing those aspects for the 2027 general election that may not necessarily require plenary approval. We are also preparing those materials as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks so much. I wish you well.
Thank you. Ms. Fatuma Saman, kindly ask some questions.
Thank you, Chair. Information sharing is a mechanism that's used for stakeholder consultation. However, it's also guided by information packaging, appropriate information packaging, and appropriate presentation of information.
Yes.
Would you please tell the panel an instance where the right information was shared with the wrong audience, or vice versa?
In the Commission?
Any situation. Just give an example of one and the consequence.
It's a tricky question, Madam, but I'll still attempt to.
I just want to attempt to see
go.
if you have a grip of what such circumstances can be and the effect it can have.
Thank you. If you look at my documents, there's a letter in which I was appointed by the CEO to join a technical team that will work on messaging for the Commission. And this was with regard to formulating messages that will be sent to different stakeholders of the IEBC, which include voters, those that are literate, those that may not be literate, those that will be sent using radio channels, others on TV, others on social media. So we look at our stakeholders.